Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very empowering show coming right up with special guest Carly Pollack, and she's here today to share with us her new book, Feed Your Soul: Nutritional Wisdom to Lose Weight Permanently and Live Fulfilled. Now, Carly is the founder of Nutritional Wisdom, which is a thriving private practice based in Austin, Texas. She's a certified clinical nutritionist with a master's degree in holistic nutrition. She's been awarded Best Nutritionist in Austin 5 years running and has helped over 10,000 people achieve their health and happiness goals. So let's welcome to the show, Carly Pollack.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, what a pleasure it is to have you here and to talk about your new book. And, I've got to ask you, what inspired you to write this book?
I have to say, in the beginning, I really didn't want to write a book because I felt like with nutrition and in the wellness world that it's just been said. There's too much that's been said, and it's so conflicting and so confusing. And when I started to get the whisper, as I find that most authors do, about, hey, you have something good here, you should write a book, I really battled against it for a while, saying, ugh, I don't want to enter this space, and, I don't want to add one more book to the pile. But, as I continued to think about how different my message was from everything out there, I realized the exact reason why I didn't want to write a book is why I really needed to.
Well, I'm glad that you did, because it does kind of shift through some of the things that people get really confused on, especially when we talk about nutrition and diet and health. But before we get too far down the road, you start your book off about this chapter about retraining our brain, and I was real impressed with that. And why did you choose to start the book that way?
I feel like when it comes to any behavior you have in life where you're trying to improve yourself and become a better version of yourself, the work is 90% in your brain and 10% the logistics of what you actually have to do. When it comes to dieting, people become obsessed with the logistics. Eat this, don't eat that. This is how you move your body. All of the behavior modifications that we need to do in order to lose weight and feel great, but we tend to ignore the part that's driving the entire bus, which is the mind.
Well, and I know further in your book you talk about creating a new narrative. So what does that mean?
We all have a narrative, that voice in the head, that continuous narrative in our mind that's going all day long. And some of us are aware enough to recognize that voice is not exactly who we are, but we don't really know how to control it. And some of us are so identified with the narrative or the voice that we actually don't even know it's there, and it's unconsciously driving every behavior that we have. For me, there was a big shift when I realized that I could control my own narrative. So instead of my old narrative, which is, I'll never lose the weight, why is this so hard for me and easy for other people? Or one of my old narratives was, well, I'm just a foodie, I love food, and you can't be a foodie and love food and also be in the best shape of your life at the same time. All of those old stories that I had, when I realized, hey, I can control these, I can change these, that's when I really started to make physical changes.
That's so empowering, because it lets people know that regardless where you're at, it's something that's doable, but, I love how you're starting with the inner work on that.
You have to start from within and let it rise to the surface. I've never seen a client be successful doing it the other way, dieting and counting calories and working on the outer piece in order to ultimately be happy within. I've just never seen it work that way. And if the end goal of all goals is to be happy, meaning the only reason why we want to be healthier is because we believe in being healthier or thinner or stronger, that we will have a life experience that makes us happier. And so if that is the end goal, I say let's work on that piece, not necessarily first, where we get happy and eat whatever we want and then decide to be on a diet, but in tandem, that we work on our narrative and our mind and our deep spiritual path as it relates to food at the same time that we're making changes in our day-to-day behaviors.
That is so true, because, I mean, if we can't, fix, or at least work on, because fix is kind of a big word, but, work on the things that are holding us back. I mean, you can do the diet, I would think, and then it will come back.
There's only two reasons why we eat. We eat for physical hunger because our body requires the nutrition to keep going. And then we eat to shift or up-level an emotion. Shift an emotion, meaning we feel some sort of emotion that's uncomfortable and we eat to shift it, or up-level. A lot of the time we feel a positive emotion and then we want to celebrate and with food and up-level that emotion because the mind is always looking for more. So even when we're happy, the mind says, ooh, how can I make this better? How can I be happier? It's kind of like when we buy a shirt that we love and we could be just really excited about that one shirt, but the mind says, I should get this in a different color. How can I get this? How can I make this even better? And so we use food to not only shift an emotion, but up-level it. And it sounds pretty simple. Oh, there's only two reasons why we eat. But you and I know that there are hundreds of different emotions that a human being is capable of feeling. So at times it feels like we're eating for 100 different reasons, whether it's boredom or, depression, anxiety. We have to address our emotional state in order to really get a handle on our food to the point where, and I know that everybody wants this to be the goal, that when we wake up in the morning, we have an authentic desire to do the right thing for our body. And I really am so passionate about that point because I've had so many diets where I do them out of fear. I do them because I don't want my pants not to fit, or I don't want to be by the pool feeling self-conscious, or I don't want to feel insecure at a party. And so I've done so many diets or health protocols coming from a place of fear that it's so important to me that I give people tools to do the mind work so that when they wake up, it's not out of fear. It's from love. Like I said, that authentic desire. You wake up in the morning and you say, ooh, another opportunity to have a day where I treat myself with love and respect as it relates to food, movement, and thinking.
And that opens up a bigger conversation for people around food as opposed to, I'm stressed, I'm going to eat a bag of chips, or I'm just going to, I'm having a tough day, so I'm going to eat whatever. It really puts a more mindful practice in regards to how the food is facilitating our health.
And I realized a long time ago that when we eat to comfort, that we're just taking one problem and creating a secondary problem when the first problem feels too overwhelming to deal with. And I will say to myself, and I still use this tool today, I'll be feeling tired or whatever emotion that we would classify as discomfort. And my mind, my old narrative comes in and says, oh, you deserve a treat, or, I know what would make you feel better, this thing out of your pantry. And then I still to this day say to myself, Carly, do you want two problems or one problem? Because one problem, I'm not great at math, but one problem sounds much easier to figure out than two.
Yeah, that kind of really breaks it down. It makes it a little bit easier for people to go, okay, wait a minute. I need to reshift my thinking on how I feel about food at this moment.
Yeah, and, we said about, starting the book with mind work and that the other day my father read the book, which is so sweet because he's really not my target audience. But he read the book and he said, I'm really surprised because I thought this was going to be a diet book, and this is really a mind book. This is really a spiritual book about food. And it was, of course, adorable to hear my, 78-year-old father have this epiphany. But it's true that we have to do the mind work around food instead of looking at it as, just that singular behavior. Hey, I emotionally eat, or I have these bad behaviors around food. What I love about this perspective of eating is then it allows us to learn so much more about ourselves on a deeper level through the lens of our behaviors with food. I always say that our plate is a reflection of our inner state. So, we're used to learning deeply about ourselves through our spiritual path and through our behaviors with our relationships with others, or, through our specific day-to-day experiences. And I'm saying your plate is a fantastic place to look at your spiritual relationship, not only to food, but to yourself, how worthy you feel you are, your own narrative. And I think it's a place that people just skip over.
Yeah. Well, and you touched on something I'd love for you to kind of expand on a little bit more. You talked about our plate being a reflection, so it's a reflection of what?
So I say that our plate is a reflection of our inner state. In the book, I talk about something I call food karma, which is, we know with karma that like attracts like, and what we put out comes back. And food karma to me is what our emotional state is, that vibration of wherever we are emotionally is the type of food we attract. So think about when you're feeling depressed or you're PMSing or you're feeling anxious, the type of foods that you crave are really a vibrational match to the way you feel. When I leave yoga class and I've just had this fantastic yoga session, I don't say to myself, let me go get some fried chicken and a bucket of fries. I say, oh, I'd love a smoothie. I'd love some salad. I'm a vibrational match to what I would call high vibration foods, which are foods that rot and spoil and give us life and give us vitality. I never liked the idea that in our language and our culture, in the American culture, we call comfort foods, we call foods that are heavy, laden with, trans fat and fried and super uncomfortable for us. We call them comfort foods. And I'd like to see one person who eats comfort foods and then feels physically comfortable after eating them. And I know it's just a play on words, but words carry so much power. Imagine if we called these foods uncomfort foods or discomfort foods, that I would say to you, oh man, I'm really feeling really anxious. I have an idea. Let's go eat foods that are going to make me feel worse. It would be really hard for us to go and engage in that behavior if we call the thing a thing versus really looking at foods as a way to nourish the body and can create comfort, meaning if I'm feeling really uncomfortable and I eat healthy foods, that would ultimately make me feel more comfortable in my body. So when I say our plate is a reflection of our inner state, I mean that we crave the foods that will make us feel the way that we're currently feeling in our daily emotional state.
That is so true, and when people really look at it that way, it really does shift everything.
Yeah, it does. It's a big game changer when we start to look at foods through the lens of spirituality and to me what that means, because I think, that word is thrown around so often today, is letting them teach us something deeper than what it appears at the surface to allow us to live a more meaningful, more aware existence and day-to-day experience.
Well, and on that note, you talk about like the diet word as well, and there's so much confusion out there of what to eat, what not to eat, what to stay away from. So how can people cut through all that chatter and find the path that works for them?
Well, part of why there is so much chatter is because what I find that happens is someone will try a diet. Let's just say it's the paleo diet, and it will work wonders for them. And then they say, okay, this worked for me. This must work for everybody. And they write a book, or they go and find research that supports their idea. And we know that, you can always find research that supports whatever idea, whether it's vegan, paleo. And that's why you have so much conflicting information, because there's always going to be some data that sways in the way of what we're trying to prove. And, so we know that there's confusion because no one diet works for everyone all of the time. And I commit an entire chapter to the book to helping teach people how to find their unique diet by listening to the body's response to certain foods that they eat. And, people are so confused by me because we all want to put other people in a box. Oh, she's paleo. Oh, she's vegan. Oh, she, does the Atkins diet. And sometimes I eat a vegan meal, and sometimes I eat grass-fed filet mignon on the grill. And people are just so confused going, Carly, what is your diet? And I'm really on the Carly diet, for lack of a better term. I have a feedback communication system within my body that tells me what works and doesn't work. And each of us have this. It's just that we've never learned the body's communication. The body communicates in symptoms or lack thereof. So if I eat a meal and after I feel bloated, I'm burping, I'm craving sweets, my energy tanks, and I'm, finish my meal and I'm kind of staring off into the corner, these are all the way that your body, that's the body's language for, hey, this food works and is medicine, or hey, this food doesn't work and is not good for you. And so there's a chapter in the book where I really teach people how can you figure out what diet works, although there is a general guideline for people, which is we should all be eating foods that rot and spoil, meaning foods that sit on the shelf and can sit there for months and months are not as healthy or health-giving for us as foods that, if left out on the table for 6 hours, would start to grow mold or bacteria would start to grow. We wouldn't want to eat them.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I can kind of hear people going, well, wait a minute. How about my protein bars and health bars and all these things that I purchase? I mean, that's processed too,
Yes, I believe in the energy principle of eating, which is that we as humans are just energy beings. We're a bunch of molecules bouncing off each other. And these energetic beings, the way energy works is that we need to continue to fuel our energy or else we would die. It's very much like a cell phone and the battery's running out, and unless you charge it, it will die and it won't come back on. If we are energy beings and we need that exchange of energy to live, we need to eat foods that also have energy. And foods that have energy will die, will rot and spoil. So you have an avocado, which, will rot before our very eyes. We could actually watch it go bad if we took 5 minutes. And then you have, like you said, the energy bar that promises all of these vitamins and this many grams of protein, but it's in a plastic wrapper. And it doesn't need refrigeration, and it can last for 6 months to a year, maybe even longer, and still be, technically viable as a food. It makes a lot of logical sense that most of your diet would be to eat foods that rot and spoil, looking at your produce first. So we want to be very plant strong, lots of plants all the time, fruits and vegetables, and then looking at your meats and nuts and seeds and beans, which take a little longer to spoil, but absolutely will. It doesn't mean, and I just want to be very clear, that I don't ever eat foods that come in a box, because that's just unrealistic. And I eat gluten-free crackers, and there are absolutely foods that come in a box that are very neutral and are not necessarily not good for you. But I'm really challenging everyone listening today to think about the percentage of food that they eat that rots and spoils versus the food that comes in some sort of container. And I would like you to think about moving the needle to where at least 80% of the foods you eat on your plate rot and spoil very quickly, and the other 20% or less are really just additions and help you put a little bit of fun and variety in the foods. For example, having hummus or a cashew cream cheese with fresh vegetables and some gluten-free crackers along with that, or a piece of toast so that you can make a beautiful avocado toast with tomatoes, onions, avocado, olive oil, alfalfa sprouts. That's a beautiful meal. I wouldn't want someone to feel bad about that because there's a piece of bread in this scenario, but look at the ratio between foods that are unprocessed and come right from the earth and are alive versus foods that have to be processed in some way.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And I think there's this whole movement now, too, which is kind of helping make it a little bit easier for people to eat this way. There's this whole movement, the farm to table, and it's been going on for a while. I mean, it's probably been going on since the 70s, but more so now you're seeing more restaurants do it, more people who are kind of looking for that kind of connection with their local farms.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it makes me jealous of my grandparents and great-grandparents. When you think about it, they didn't have to go find the organic produce. It was just produce. They didn't have to go grab the grass-fed option or the wild-caught fish. It was just meat. They didn't have to worry that it was injected with hormones and antibiotics and fed corn and byproduct. And, for us today, we have to be such health detectives and food detectives, and we really have to go above and beyond and read labels. And there's so many chemicals and technology, basically, that has helped us in every other area of life, but has really done us a huge disservice when it comes to our food system. And you can see that we are starting to do this switch where we're getting back to how it always was, going to the farmer's market on the weekend, buying local produce, buying local animal protein from, your closest rancher, or even being able to buy it online. So I do love seeing that turnaround. It makes people who are really health focused seem less freakish in a way because these things are becoming more available to us.
Yeah, thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
Well, and in your book you talk about this, really kind of finding out what our why is. And I'd love for you to expand on that because I've been on yo-yo diets here and there my entire life. I think most women have at some point or another. And so when we look at, developing a why, I think that kind of changes a lot of stuff.
Just notice what happens if you take a look into your past and look at and identify the times in your past where you were super gung-ho on a diet or any behavior change. You were meditating every day or you were doing yoga or whatever it was to increase your level of health. I can guarantee you that because this was consistent and you were having success, you had a lot of clarity. You had a very clear why, meaning you were extremely clear on what the outcome of this behavior was going to create for you, and you wanted it. And I joke in the book about there's no one more focused than a bride, right before her wedding. And, don't step in line of that woman trying to grab the last salad at Whole Foods because she'll cut your neck off because she's so focused. She has such a clear why. And then all of a sudden, the day after her wedding, she's eating whatever she wants and gaining the weight back because her why is no longer there. It's over. And I just even noticed for myself, I had a baby 9 months ago, and she has eczema. It's mild, but it's there, and it's enough to annoy her and absolutely worry me. And there is a specific diet that I can go on as a breastfeeding mom to help with her eczema. And you should see, talk about clarity. It's like things that I may have eaten before and said, oh, it's not a big deal. Now I'm just such a stickler. And it's because my why is so clear. And we tend to be willing to do things for people we love in a much clearer way than we'd be able to do things for ourselves. But do pay attention to the time where you have that looming vacation and you're going on a vacation with a girlfriend who has an amazing body or something she has in her health that you really want, and all of a sudden, 10 days before you're on this crazy diet, versus times where you want to have that clarity and you go, oh man, I wish I were more motivated. I want to want this, but I just can't seem to get myself there. And really, if I could sum up the book, that is the gift and tool that it gives readers is I teach you how to create such a strong desire for the things that you want but currently feel blocked on, that when you finish the book, there's really nothing stopping you from taking action and getting the health that you want and you deserve.
And moving forward, I know you even have a chapter in there for people who, no matter what they're doing, they're just not losing the weight.
There's a lot of reasons why people don't lose weight, and it's not just they're overeating or they're not exercising enough, even though those are two reasons and two common reasons why people aren't losing the weight. But in today's day, especially for women, men as well, but especially women, our hormones rule everything. And there are a lot of reasons why we may do a lot of the right things and not be able to burn stored fat as fuel. And I go over that as well, because I don't just want to go over all the mind work and have someone go, okay, I'm really clear, I'm going to do all this stuff, and then not get the reward they want, which might be weight loss, health, clear skin, amazing digestion, less anxiety, stress management. So I address that as well to make sure that you can get the reward if you put in the hard work.
Yeah, and it's something that takes time to develop. It's not like it's going to happen in a week, right?
We tend to underestimate how long it took us to put it on and overestimate, we want to get it off in a week, and it took us years to put on. I'm not saying it will take the same time to take it off as you put it on, because depending on your clarity and your behaviors, we can make rapid change. But yeah, the body, it takes time, and I'd rather it take a little longer time and it be permanent. When, if I've lost and gained, if I add up every 20 pounds that I've lost and gained, I'm sure I've lost and gained over 300 pounds. I'm not really interested in short-term change, that you can drop 10 pounds and feel great. I want to see you 2 years from now, and that 10 pounds is still off, and you tell me I don't feel like I'm on a diet. I really just wake up in the morning and I'm excited to do healthy things for myself, and I don't even remember that 10 pounds because I have no fear that it will ever come back, because I feel really confident and comfortable in this lifestyle. It's very doable, and I have a desire to do it. That permanent change is what I'm interested in.
I think that's what many people are interested in, having that permanent change in that lifestyle where they're so empowered. And your book, Feed Your Soul, really talks about that. Carly, where can people connect with you and be part of your community?
Well, I am very active on Instagram, and my name is Carly Pollack. They can go to carlypollack.com. I also have a private practice here in Austin, Texas. If people are interested in one-on-one coaching, that's nutritionalwisdom.com. And, if you go to carlypollack.com, I've got a weekly blog, and you can sign up for the emails. My book, Feed Your Soul, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, and so there's a lot of places where people can grab more wisdom.
And connect with you there. Well, Carly, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me and helping me to spread this really, really important message.
Well, thank you, Carly. It's been such a pleasure to spend this time with you, and of course to talk about your new book, Feed Your Soul, nutritional wisdom to lose weight permanently and live fulfilled. If you're looking to connect with Carly, you can again at her website, carlypollack.com, and her book, Feed Your Soul, is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie bookstores. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.